I want to share with you a line from a poem by Ravji Patel, one of the early modern Gujarati poets. Me khadela dana parna daant have jowa chhe. The teeth marks on the grains that I have eaten, I now want to see. I now want to see the teeth marks on the grains that I have eaten. I now want to see the marks left behind by the interaction between myself and life. I too have written poems now and again. More often though, it's been proposals for residencies and artist statements. But never have I written a story before, ever. Neither long, short, nor in between. There are so many stories. So many of them, which have not seen the light of day even in my dreams. I too have tasted such fervent ecstasy and lost myself behind closed lids, seemingly forever. I too have resisted coming out of my cocoon and trusting my wings to carry me to greater heights. Stars too, however high-strung they may be, have a rhythm to follow. They too have to disappear from sight and reinvent themselves each night. Once there lived a little girl who grew up to be a queen, albeit without a crown. Oh no, don't get me wrong. She most certainly wanted her crown. The ultimate symbol of royal glory for all to see and applaud. It's just that on her head, however hard she tried, the crown kept falling off. Just like a hat that keeps flying off with the slightest whiff of air. So funny. Bobby pins, chin straps, rubber bands, and even chewing gum. She tried them all. Even practiced strutting up and down with a stack of books perched precariously on her head. She did. But the crown would not emulate the books. It refused to yield its crown, literally so. It would rather be lowly and on the ground than lofty and on her head. As my friend Chirayu Young so fondly says, the most faithful glue for a crown is P-O-W-E-R. Now power you cannot buy from any shop, real or virtue. You have to sell. Yes, in one way or the other you have to barter your soul before power will deign to cut, paste and save the crown atop your head. Now, our little girl who grew up to be a queen with without a crown, alas, had no ability to sell herself. Neither did she have the tenacity of if at first you don't succeed spider, except to grumble, mumble, fumble and maintain a status quo between her swollen head and by now a weather-beaten crown. It was in Hungary, which is different from the land of the hungry. Or is it? That a man named Ishwar in Hungary, a man named Ishwar, meaning God, came to be. He just came to be. Not this, that or the other, but just be. And what did he mean by just be, huh? And why in Hungary for Ishwar's sake? Well, yes, It was for Ishwar with a capital E sake that he came. All the way from India he came with his name meaning God. For he wanted to be true to his name. And in India, his motherland, it was too doggone difficult. Rush, push, pinch, pull, thud, slap, dash. Leaves no energy to be God. Well, that's what just be meant for him. Just be is equal to be God. That leaves us with Hungary. Why Hungary? Why? Really? Well, he says the name evokes vivid memories of a flavor peculiar to the ethos of his native land. The aroma of hunger. So each time that he felt unduly homesick, he could just utter, Hungary, 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 and lo, back he would go to salivate together with his brothers and sisters et al. He was so inspired by the fundamental logic behind this phantasmagoric image that like our own Pavan Putra Hanuman, he leapt across the 7 seas and landed, unlike Hanuman, in Hungary, not Lanka. Well, that's his story, so that's the way it has to go, right? A long-lost dream has winded its way up the long-lost Saraswati. The river, I mean, who, as the story goes, one whimsical day, or night if you will, dived underground, choosing to remain in absentia ever since. It has emerged. The dream, I mean, has emerged to be in the present tense, here and now, in this moment. T.S. Eliot said, in the beginning is the end. But my friend, philosopher and guide Chirayu Young says something quite different. The present becomes the past, which in turn becomes the future. Eternally young, so profound. A night it was to remember, pouring as it does only in Bombay. The dimly lit footpath rushing past my downward gaze, fixed intently just ahead of whichever foot forwarded itself. With one wide sweep of my mental hand, I had cleared my head, allowing it to run in tandem with the racing rhythm of its winged feet, flying towards the glowing bindu of their destination that night. The point beyond which energy cannot be contained is bindu. But then suddenly, I'm walking alongside a row of tall trees, my gaze randomly scanning the tracery of leaves when I see it. A self-contained glow of light in the shape of a flame, alone, unflickering at my eye level. We are walking in perfect sync, moving as one on either side of the row of trees when there's a flash of recognition as I and become still. That's me. That animated droplet of light is me. Me. On the banks of River Ganga, in the afterglow of the sunset, I'm sitting back to back with my love. On the ghats of Varanasi, that decrepit, decayed, filthy city where people go to die. That timeless, ageless, hauntingly beguiling city where at the core of the lunatic babel of humanity, silence. Deep silence is a palpable presence. We sit together and separate, back to back, sharing and alone. Deep in the truth of this moment, we rest. That's exactly how it felt. A gap in time, I know not how long or short for that matter. When I woke up reborn in a silence more pregnant in darkness, I knew for sure that in that gap of time, however long or short, I was I without another. I was I without an am. If you want to be financially independent, you should take commercial art, not fine arts. Is what my father said to me when I let him know that I had opted to study art over medicine. The selfish intention and upstage the philanthropic. I loved my papa dearly. He told me never to feel sorry to have been born a girl. I had just had a rude awakening as to the extra effort that goes into being as bindas as boys. Girls are equal to boys in every way, he said, and added, never ever forget this. When I scored a higher first in my senior Cambridge board exams, I was pleased as punch, and I couldn't wait to hear my father praise me. My uncle, Haribhai Swali, manager of Dena Bank and an antique collector of repute. He phoned my father specially to tell him how proud he was of me. And Hanso, truncated version of Hansraj. Surely it's a red letter day for you today, he tells my father. And what do you think my father says in response? Guess. Come on, guess. What's the big deal? She did what she could, neither more nor less. That's what each of us is expected to do, isn't it? To do our best. I was crestfallen, to say the least. But now, today in hindsight, I can see all the net gains accrued through this blessing. For that's what it was, a blessing in disguise. Just like our disguised queen pretending to be a crownless little girl. I see them. I'm off again. Those dreamy, exciting red sandals I set my heart upon that day. The day we went shoe shopping, my parents and I. But it was not to be. They were too grown up. The sandals, I mean, were too grown up. Meant for teeny boppers, not tykes such as me, pronounced my ever-loving, uncorruptible papa. Despite screams, tears, kicks and piteous pleas, I was lifted out of batas and into the monstrous DeSoto parked outside. As I turned longingly for one last look, our eyes locked for one split second. Mine and the salesman's, okay? His eyes spoke volumes in just 12 words. He definitely didn't want to be in my shoes at that moment. But who's to say? Who's to say when I will go to there are no villains in the story but all heroes lined up one at a time? Because you know, heroes cannot stand one by one beside or behind each other. They are singular people in all sense of the word singular by default. Incomparable, matchless, peerless, singly, solely, unique, unequaled, unparalleled, unrivaled, unsurpassed. Full of untold uns. Like works of art, they cannot function with, the heroes cannot function without lots and lots of space around them. They have to breathe deep and broad with their arms flung wide before zipping off to save maidens, slay demons, win Oscars or get knighted by the Queen. Not the one without the crown, but the real Queen. The monarch, yes. The monarch of all I survey kingdom. All united. Can we have some lights here, please? Little more light. There are times when body, mind and spirit are dying, literally and metaphorically, for a vacation from this daily grind of repeated regurgitation. This non-stop chewing the cud which we humans seem to find so irresistible. The 11th day of each fortnight of a lunar month is B, M and S's day. B for body, M for mind, S for spirit, okay? On this day, the trio retreats behind an unassailable do not disturb, emblazoned in extra Gothic bold condensed, and they rest. The 11th day of each fortnight of a lunar month is B, M and S's day. B, M and S's day. On this day, the planetary positions are just right to convert gases into liquids and turn all gases into liquids. A day for all you junkies out there to wash out your filth that floods arteries and nerves alike. A day to make a clean breast from scratch. Surely a red letter day for you, Bha. Quips my dear father from yonder. Either I say it now, just as it was, in full view of the public domain, make a clean breast of it, or curse it forever behind a door. Like the waif I chanced upon. Knees drawn to chest, staring up at me, squatting motionless behind a half-open door. Big, bewildered, unblinking, tear-stricken, imploring eyes. A gagged mouth as deep and red as the kumkum powder smeared carelessly across her forehead. A child bride. A child bride. No! Rang loud and clear in the recesses of my head. No runaway bride this, but a clear testimony of what I have turned myself into. A bonded laborer. An innocent pledged into slavery by the keeper of her soul. Me. Somewhere along the way, the sole purpose of my life, sole purpose of my life, receded behind a wall of mirrors I was so fond of stepping in and out of. An ocean of eyes surged towards me from behind the mirror. A bearded look-alike staring me in my face. Can you imagine the horror of it? The finality of her loss staring me in my face. How for the life of me was I going to retrieve her? How? In a desperate bid to separate the real from the elusive, I began to go here. I began! Which times is the times? And what for that matter is time? Is that what it is? To be or not to be? Not who is going to be the next superpower, supergirl, superglue, superstar, super... This notion of moving with the times. Think about it. Think. As though times were a band of soldiers playing a march and everyone had to pull in their stomachs, straighten their shoulders and go hop, 2, 3, 4, hop ever after. So silly. Why not? After all, we only live once. Or do we? Never say die, say the fighting spirits. I died a million deaths, say the living ones. And what does Adi Shankaracharya, The yogi who walked the length and breadth of his trapezoid-shaped country, composing poetry and establishing mathas, have to say about this. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. As clear cut as that. Again birth, again death, again the sleep in the womb of the mother. Again birth, again death, again the sleep in the womb of the mother. Again birth, again death, again the sleep in the womb of the mother. Again birth, again death, again birth, again death, again birth, again death, again birth, again death, again birth. Stop! Here we go again. Not once, not twice, but over and over and over. Over fields, meadows, race horses, trousseaux, trunks, you name it, we have it. So, what are you complaining about? The source of all being? The Big Bang, bigger than Big Apple? Come on girl, go and play. All work and no play makes Jill a dull girl. I see. Well, I'm not Jill. I'm me. So chill, baby. In Rome, we all know we have to do as the Romans do. But in India, what do we do, huh? If we try to do as the Indians do, we won't know what hit us. We'd be swamped under a plethora of multiplicities. Caste, creed, color, spoken dialects, written languages, dress codes, black markets, pink slips, white lies, protocols, political parties, oral traditions, postmodern practices. Oh. So in India, my friends, how do we go about doing what we have to do? Even as I say this, I know it's you. Your sperm making waves in my ovum. Happily, madly, crazily jumping hurdles, parting seas and unraveling mysteries behind closed lids. Oh, what would I do without you? Where would I be even if I could? Shell without sea, earth without sky, feet without legs. How can they be? How? Shell without sea, earth without sky, feet without legs. I without you, my love, lover, co-creator, cannot be. We are not. Oh, we are not. It's another world, this. Another world. The world of the have-nots. Lots and lots of space. Surrender, sink and soil, kiss and tell, go and fuck, be this, that and the other, but go and die, or just juggle. Rotten to the core and given to dampness, you're a witch with a B, not a W, get it, Maharani? Loiter, 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 you bitch of a witch, you fornicate to hell and don't come back. Up above the sky, you see, I'll wait for you with one as long as a pig, you nutcase rhymer, you. Rings true. Of course it does, you M plus other akayo. Bet you don't want to die just yet. But then when? When can you tell me? Today is too late, tomorrow may never come. So why don't we just screwball the driver and get drunk to heaven? Not a bad idea. Of course not, you stinker, you. Get lost quick is one fine line you daily offer Delilah. Or would you prefer Samson? Junk it, baby. Again and a yank it too. Don't let go this time or fall you will never to emerge at all. Hoary it is and gory too, but not this silly as you write story. Ha! Making up, making down, you debauch. You of the final order of Gangadin. Hail Mary, and in one breath inhale the wide, wide world of Megasthenes, the Greek not God, but a miser who slapped his own wife dead and didn't even cry over spilled milk. Thank God for the world of the have-nots. Where else the space to wash oneself sane in a mud bath of madness, pray tell? To become mad monk Rasputin for a day? Once, none too often. Don't we all feel a pang for a tryst with no man's land? Ever wondered why the sky above is overcast? The sky is my canvas. When I paint it grey, it casts over. When I let it rest, it becomes blue. Sky blue. Turquoise is blue too. Swimming pools almost always. Inks can be blue, black, brown, yellow and even purple. But jazz without blues, I say, is no jazz. There are bluebirds and bluebells and blue mountains too. Imagine. The Danube. The Danube has been blue ever since Viennese waltz. And blueberries, next only to nectar, as cleanliness is next only to godliness. Blue favors royalty, and so their blood is blue. Why Bluetooth is blue, don't ask me, but it is. And feeling blue is understood as feeling sorry and sad. But do you think that blue had a say in any of these? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, rock. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, rock. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, rock. Whilst roll keeps fuming in a corner. All my nerve endings had become incursive, numbed into silence. No tingle, no sensation, nothing. Not even a smile. Lost touch with feeling. How do I know what to feel? How to choose? How to react? How to paint? How to see paintings? How to love? Last rung of the ladder and no safety net below. How to forget myself and wake up healed. An army of pincered crab-like creatures scurrying furiously towards me. I, like Jack in the Box, gone crazy, jumping, 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 my eyes popping in concentration. Beaten senseless by fears turned to dread, I was witnessing myself in perdition, my world a recurring nightmare tearing at my guts. There goes the dinner gong. Stories almost always adhere to the story within a story within a story pattern, don't they? Unless, of course, one of them slips or falls or something and the whole castle tumbles down. Like twin towers. It can happen. Dong! Dinner gong! Even on an Ekadashi day. That's weird, isn't it? Oh, yes. I have to introduce you. Chirayu. Ageless, immortal, evergreen. Chirayu, forever young, who is my friend for life, seems to be wandering eternally. That's how it seems, huh? That's not how it is. If you know the difference, that is. What he does, we do not know. But he practices what he preaches, that much I know. He watches and wonders, writes poetry and pays attention, goes swimming underwater, listens to sounds of silence and everyday life, rides a motorbike, walks the street, finds fun, not faults, with people of all ages and lathers them with laughter. Sews buttons and bursts them. Goes berserk baking boiled potatoes and carrying no weight on his back. He lights up a cigarette. He lights up a cigarette and keeps smiling his crooked smile at whomsoever it may concern. Seductive Krishna that he is. Please be a little less docile and a little more dominating. But no, that's not his way, he says. When I say, you can take the horse to the watering hole, but you cannot dash, dash, dot, dash, dot, dash. Fill in the blanks as you please. Tell me, why do we do what we do when we do? And what does why mean when it says I don't know why? So said Zeus, the Greek god, the husband of Hera, the goddess who protects marriages. A force to reckon with. Haven't we heard that before? Where? In our dreams? I don't think so. On paper? In a joke? Off the cuff? By the wayside? Amongst friends? Between lines? Upon my word? But then where do I go to reckon with the force that is fast becoming a force to reckon with? What do I do? Admit defeat? Organize a rally? Or just pretend to be fast? पोपट भूख्यो नथी, पोपट तरस्यो नथी, आंबानी डाળ ઉપર રાજ કરે છે, ગાયના ગોવાળ, ભેંસના ગોવાળ. Grandmothers, Gangabai and Chandabai, both grandmoms. Gangabai, my father's mom, was Bai, and Chandabai, my mother's, was Nani. Blessed are those such as me who've been cradled by their Bais and Nanis. An epoch of sharing through lore and laughter, lyrics and lullabies, folk songs and bhajans and stories galore. Epics, legends, riddles, myths, fiction, fables, bios, dreams, a treasure chest full of stories, true and false. Grandmas and grandchild, side by side, hand in hand, friends and confidants, walking past the generation gap without a second glance. Those were the days, my friend, we thought will never end. But no. The truth of the pudding does lie in eating it. Else how will you know you're full of shit unless you eat your own? You require guts to do that, I concede. And guts are a prime commodity, especially when India has to contend with its booming economy. Of course it's booming. Look at the rising high-rises and soaring prices. Yellows and black, leafy greens, apple reds, milky whites, earthy browns, and many in-betweens, too minute to put under a microscope. It was only yesterday that I sat on my Nana's stomach, playing with his handlebar snow-white moustache. But today, look at me, I'm already sinking my teeth into bitter chocolate and burning up with ecstasy. Hammering tongues, nailing truth, firing brimstone and making impossible possible in many subtle permutations impossible to see with the naked eye. And here I step into a territory where angels. But here, exception is the rule. So I, past 60, walk with my feet 3 inches off the ground, in full awareness of the bottomless pit below. I hear the death knell tone. Who goes there? Whoever. beware, lest you come upon the very place where dead bury their dead and go in peace. Yes, yes, I know, the word of the nameless one alone shall prevail. But till then, none other than by your leave and thank you came yesterday for a visit to my Museum of Expressions. You could hear their mashallahs, teri to is kya baat hai, and aylas going round and round and round and round the whispering gallery. Even the warnings of the watchmen did not deter their rolling eyes, raised eyebrows, twitching toes and lolling tongues from giving vent to their collective consciousness. It was a sight to behold and a sound to savor. Warm the cockles of my heart it did. Wah, Subhanallah, Irshad, Irshad. Irshad. Dil beh gaya जीने वाली का आय हाय दिल बहर गया जीने वाली का और लफ्ज़ हुए बेताब दिल बहर गया जीने वाली का और लफ्ज़ हुए बेताब पैर लड़खड़ाने लगे पैर लड़खड़ाने लगे पैर लड़खड़ाने लगे अब है इंतकाम चिरायु अब है इंतकाम चिरायु अब है इंतकाम चिरायु अब है इंतकाम चिरायु. Before the dawn of civilization, it just dawned on me. Never have I penned shairi before either. Does that make me ambidextrous or omnidextrous? I wonder. Before the dawn of civilized society, art was created in a spirit of nonentity. Artist's name was nowhere in the picture, literally and metaphorically. Whodunit was unimportant. To please the gods and appease their appetites was of prime importance. Procreation envisages a he and a she at play as one, inspiring their twain selves to turn liquid and melt. So does creating art envisage the same. By default, art is not a solo performance. It cannot be made without another, which is none other than yourself. Id and ego, intellect and intuition, the nameless and the named. These dancing woolly masters masterminding the play from behind the curtain. Blessed is the womb that gives birth in solitude, for her seed, not she, shall remain. Like stretching the limits of the stretch of a bowstring. Like stretching the limits of the stretch of a bowstring. Two stalwarts, the bowstring and yours truly, none willing to give up the ghost or settle for less. Both doing their best to live as long as they can, with as much gusto as they can, knowing full well they are not immortal. Truly amazing.
Silence. Don't speak. Keep still. Listen. Listen with your eyes and look. Look down. No, not there, not there. Here, right here in front of your nose. Straight up the tree and to your right, and lo, you've caught it. The whiff, the scent, the wind. You smell it. Sniff it out. Leave no stone unturned. You found your goal.
Jump! Jump now! Jump higher still! Sky's the limit. There's no cause to feel shocked. It's a chance of a lifetime that brings with itself a mouthful of mercury more mercurial than a shot. Ring true and ring well, and life shall not ditch you. All is well. A wishing well where pennies from heaven get dropped and rise to become a sea of adventure. Go with speed and go alone. Ready? Go. Go. Go! What happened to the bowstring? What happened to the bowstring? I never did find out. The question still lingers. What happened to the bowstring? Fell on the camel's back and broke. Went for a walk and got entangled with Paul Clay's line. Thought otherwise and fell off the roof. The more I imagine, the more questions. Or the more answers, the more I imagine. Just remove the question marks and you see that the questions have turned into answers. Multiple possibilities happening at the same time here and now. What happened to the bowstring? Turned a somersault and never touched ground again. Grew a pair of wings and disappeared into light. Became a circle and started spinning again. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Again birth, again death, again the sleep in the womb of the mother. I now want to see the teeth marks and the grains that I've eaten. Me khadhela dana parna, daant have jo vache.